Alrighty, we are live on Street TV. Already Los Angeles time. And I just got back from the court where Tory Lanez was sentenced. Just got back from court, saw the whole thing, and no matter what you think about this case, whether guilty or innocent, it doesn't really matter. I think it's over to point to see another brother on his way to state prison. And that's just what we saw today. Bro is on his way to state prison. Always knew it was going to happen, but just, sitting there witnessing it, it's just a whole nother ball game. I've seen this over 100 times. It's always a black dude or a Mexican dude. It's here in LA at least. I've only seen one white guy get sentenced to prison in that courthouse. That was Johannes Meserly, the guy that shot Oscar Grant in the back. But yeah, seeing another brother get sentenced to prison. And yes, he was 10 years. And the prosecution was asking for 13. They got, the judge gave 10, and I'm going to break down exactly how it came out to 10, how it could have came out to less, it came out to a little bit more. But, the connection's a little choppy. Let me just make one quick, edit right here. Give me 30 seconds. Yeah, he got 10 years. I don't know if the audio or the video is going to be any better, but on the playback, it'll be better. If you're watching this live, my apologies. So he got more than Pop Smoke's killer did, huh? Well, the guy that was convicted in Pop Smoke's case, he was a minor. He was a juvenile, and it's different. You can't compare it. You really can't compare it. And fix the audio. Give me a 1 if my audio is bad. Give me a 2 if it's good. Give me a 1 if the audio is bad. Give me a 2 if it's good. 1 if it's bad. 2 if it's good. Because I believe I'm all connected. 1 if it's bad. 2 if it's good. And if I get too many 1s, I'm just gonna end this stream and do it later. We got some 2s. We got a 1.5. Funk says 1.5. So yeah, 10 years, and this is how it broke down. What got Tory Lanez the most time in prison was count 1. Count 1 was the using that gun, and that carried 3-year minimum, 6-year midterm, 9-year max. The prosecution asked for the midterm, which was, the defense was asking, the defense wanted probation, but that wasn't going to happen. But they was also saying that Tory Lanez deserves the low term. The low term on that would have been 3 years. The other two counts were both they were going to run concurrent with count one, and they're lesser. They have lesser sentences. I think the low on count 2 and 3 are like 16, 18 months. So, and the mid is 2, and I think the high is 3 on one of the counts. But the count 2 and count 3 are lesser than count 1. So since they were going to run concurrent to count 1, it doesn't really matter. But he could have got the low term, which would have been 3 years. They hit him with the midterm, which was 6 years. So that's the chunk of this whole 10-year sentence. And then of course they had 2 enhancements, by the way. And the prosecution wanted to sentence Tory Lanez to both those enhancements. The judge dismissed one of the enhancements and gave him the mid on the first enhancement. The mid on that enhancement was 4 years. The low was 2, the high was 6. So he didn't get the low term on either on count 1 or on the enhancement. So you take the 6 years and the 4 years, but he was also sentenced to 2 years on count 2, but that's to run concurrent to count 1. And he also was sentenced to 2 more years on count 3, which was stayed. So you really just have the 6 years for count 1 and then the 4 years for the enhancement on count 1. And then the 2 years on count 2 and the 2 years on count 3, that all runs with the first sentence. So that's how he got the 10 years. And he has 305 days credit. Let's just round that off to a year. Yeah, 305 days credit, Tory Lanez, that is. And you got to do 85% of your 10-year sentence. So that means he's going to have to do 8.5 years of that sentence minus a year for the time he's got credit for. That takes it to 7.5, and he might be able to get some time knocked down while he's in prison. We'll say maybe he could work off a year. That leaves him with a 6.5 year sentence. 6.5 year has him hopefully on the low end getting out sometime in 2029. So it's not a death sentence. And I'm gonna tell you right now, all the dudes that I interview on the channel and all these dudes that have been to prison and back and went to prison and back again, they're saying that he could walk this off. This ain't nothing, but it is something. Anytime you got to sit down, for a year in prison, it's a lot of time. But we figure 6.5 years is the minimum, and he'll be in his late 30s when he's released. Maybe 36, 37, 38, depending. And he might still be young enough to jump back into the music game and do his thing. So yeah, I was in the courthouse the whole time from the 10-day trial in December to all the subsequent hearings, and all the way to the sentencing yesterday and today. And it's finally over, notwithstanding any sort of appeal that they're going to file within the next. They'll appeal immediately. It'll take some time, at least a year or two, before that appeal is heard. So let's tap in with a few questions. I really don't have a lot of time. I got to run in a minute, but Kel Lee said the judge was very fair and transparent. He gave Tory and his defense enough time to make the case. Well, the Judge David Hereford, definitely was patient. He was definitely patient. I was a little surprised he gave him the 10 years, because this is the way I look at it. The minimum he could have got, probation's off the table. So that's, some people are going to say probation's the minimum, but the minimum would have been the low term on count 3. I'm sorry, the low term on count 1, which is 3 years. He could have got 3 years and then had everything else run concurrent to that 3 years. So the minimum was 3. The prosecution was asking for 13. So the way I look at it is you split the difference, and the difference where the compromise where it's right in the middle is 8 years. 8 years would have been right in the middle. So I was expecting that the judge might have found a way to give him 8 years, and he could have. there's multiple ways you can get to 8 with this sentence. He could have gave him he could have got 3 years plus 2 years plus 3. Or he could have just got the 6 years and everything else run. He could have got 6 years plus 6 years for count 1, 2 years for count 2. That's 8 years right there, and then everything else run concurrent. I mean, there's multiple ways he could have got to 8. I thought a good sentence was 8. I'm not shocked that he got to 10, but it is what it is. I've seen too many people get these type of sentences, so I didn't want people to think because he's a celebrity, because he's got these high-powered attorneys, he's got Jose Baez, that somehow this was going to help him either escape a prison sentence or get an extremely low prison sentence. Nah, that doesn't work on the 9th floor of CCB. It probably works in many other courthouses. It doesn't work on the 9th floor. Did Tory seem remorseful in your opinion? You know, Tory gave a nice addressing to the court. He addressed the judge, and I can't say if he seemed remorseful or not because I don't know how his personality is. He never admitted to the shooting, so I don't know how remorseful can you be if you don't fully admit and take full responsibility. If this guy even wants to get out early, if there's some sort of parole, I'm not sure if there's a parole, but if there is a parole, when he gets to that board, he's got to say, I shot Megan. He's got to say that, you know, or they're going to make sure he does every single day of his sentence. So, but I would say that from an outsider listening to Tory Lanez address the court, it didn't sound remorseful. It sounded more desperate. It sounded more of a desperation move more than anything. And we say that because we saw all his other antics up to this point. We saw all his stuff he was doing on social media. We saw him first say that Megan was never shot, then shot by someone else. So it seemed more of a desperation move. And obviously it didn't work. It didn't move the judge at all. Do you think if you took the stand that he may have gotten him a lighter sentence? Man, if he would have took the stand, he would have had a lot of questions to answer, and I'm not so certain that those answers would have sounded good in front of a jury. So it's probably a good move that George McDesian kept him off the stand. But I do think if he had Jose Baez as his trial attorney from the beginning, he would have been far more effective with keeping certain things, keeping certain evidence out, arguing against certain evidence, objecting more to things. Definitely, Jose Baez is he's like a bulldog in there. That's the type of attorney that you want on your side if you're fighting for your life. Not to say that George McDesian is not a good defense attorney, but Jose Baez just has more experience. He's more refined. He's more articulate, and he doesn't even work off of notes. When he's up there addressing the judge on this like 25-minute rant, there are no notes. It's just all up in his head. So he's far more effective a defense attorney. And I think that Tory Lanez would have he could have got a mistrial with an attorney like Jose Baez, and he possibly could have been found not guilty. If he stayed in the county jail the whole time, would have given him double credit before he hit the prison. Chips, juice, money. Yeah, if he would have stayed in the county jail from 2020 to now, he would have gotten a lot more credit than he has now. So let's say with this happened 3 years ago now. So he would have had, let's say, close to 4 years credit. But, you know, the judge did give him some credit for, he gave him some credit for days he was on house arrest. He gave him 40 days credit on house arrest. But yeah, if he would have never bailed out, he would be 3 years into a sentence. possibly with another year of credit, he'd be 4 years in, and you figure you got to do 8.5 years on a 10-year sentence. He'd be getting out in roughly 4 more years if he didn't bail out. So, but most people want to bail out and fight their case from the streets. What else we got here? Jose Baez, he did put up a good fight. And really, all the delay tactics and all the antics probably didn't Tory as much in terms of getting a harsher sentence. He actually got less than what the prosecution was asking. So if the judge was really pissed at Tory for all of the antics, and he was pissed, there's no doubt he was pissed. But if he held that against Tory, he would have gave him the 13 piece. But he obviously ignored all of that. He looked at the law. He gave him the midterm. He wasn't eligible for parole. He even dismissed one of the enhancements against the prosecution's wishes. So definitely put up a good fight. Tory Lanez stayed off the stand because defendants were stand. Stand. Most cases, defendants take a stand. He would have had to answer. He would have had to answer all was back in front of the jury. So, the kind of went through all the things she was going to ask Tory if he was going to take the stand. And those are questions that you don't even want the jury to even hear, regardless of how he would have handled them. He might have handled them great, but they would have went into everything he did on social media, all the denying. Okay, imagine this question with Tory Lanez on the stand. So didn't you say that Megan Thee Stallion wasn't even shot? Wasn't you questioning whether or not she was ever shot in the first place? Hey, how do you answer that? How do you answer that question in front of a jury? So I don't think it would have helped him. Now this is a way that he could have took the stand, and this was mentioned today by Prosecutor Bott. He doesn't have to show remorse. He doesn't even have to admit that he did anything. But what he didn't do was he didn't stay quiet. If he would have stayed quiet, if he would have stayed off of social media and not addressed any of this stuff, if he didn't do an album about it, didn't do a rap song about meeting the Kardashians or the other sister, if he would have just completely ignored everything about this case on social media and in his music, he would have been in a far better position. But he said too much, he did too much, he posted too much, he wrote too many songs. Those he would have to address under a rigorous cross-examination. So this is a great example to anyone who finds himself in a situation where you're in jail, you're in prison, or you're about to go on trial. STFU. Don't say anything on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If you're an artist, don't even do any music. I'm gonna take a couple more questions and then I gotta bounce. Let me grab this phone real quick. Well, I just gotta take one more and then I gotta go. One more question and then I gotta go. Come back on maybe tonight or tomorrow. How long did the jury deliberate? They deliberated from that Thursday to that Friday. I think the trial was over on day 8. It might have been a day and a half. It wasn't that long. Not that long of deliberation. What prison is Tory Lanez going to? Well, the first prison he's going to go to is a reception prison. California has a few of them. Tehachapi has a reception. Delano has a reception. So he'll go to probably Delano, which is in Kern County, I believe. And he will be evaluated for 30, 60 days, maybe. I think the max is 90 days, but most people get evaluated within that 30 or 60 days. They're going to ask him a bunch of questions, and then he'll get sent to another prison after that. All right, people. I'll jump back on a little bit later, but thanks for tapping in with Street TV. Once again, Tory Lanez was sentenced to 10 years in prison, and pretty much over, and he will be filing his appeal, and he will also try to get bond while he files his appeal. All right, have a good one.